What's up, guys? Ron Harris here, MD Online Editor. Before I get started, of course, subscribe to the channel. If you like the video, smash that like button. Of course, leave your comments. We love feedback. I get back to everybody personally. I really do. So I came on here to talk about a documentary on Netflix, which is now, as we speak, the #4 show on Netflix right now. It's called Killer Sally. It is the story of Sally McNeil and how she murdered her husband, Ray McNeil, on Valentine's Day, 1995, and their history together and all the things that led up to that, as well as, her incarceration since then. And man, it's fascinating. If you have not watched it, if you're a bodybuilder, if you're a bodybuilding fan, especially if you're a bodybuilder or a bodybuilding fan who was around in that era, the 90s, this is going to be such an amazing show for you. So many memories came back. I was watching and they had footage of different events that I was actually part of as the production team for. They kept showing the 1991 North American Championships. That's where Ray McNeil turned pro. I vividly remember I was in the front row right behind the judges watching that show, watching him win. Watched Sally come on stage with her two children, his two stepchildren, John and Santina, came on stage. They were just kids at the time. So if they were 9 and 11 in 95 when the murder happened, this was 4 years less than that. So they would have been what, 5 and 6? Yeah. So you'll see bodybuilders from that era. They have footage from like the 93 Olympia in there with backstage stuff, some stage stuff, some things from the USA Championships. I was actually seeing things from the ESPN event productions that I was part of. I was on that. I worked for American Sports Network. So I remember this guy, that guy, like Don Ross was one of the announcers, the late Don Ross. Just a lot of great memories. You'll see glimpses of people like Sean Ray, Flex Wheeler, Kevin Levrone, Paul Dillette, Dorian Yates, in the background and stuff. They weren't speaking on camera. But man, it was a crazy story because, it would even be crazy today. Obviously, murder, a wife murdering her husband. But it's only 3 episodes long. It's less than 3 hours. You can knock this whole thing out in a night easily if you want to. I knocked it out in 3 nights. So it's a limited series, which means it's not a long 9, 10, 12 episode series. It's only three episodes. I think they could have gotten it all done in like a 2-hour movie documentary format, but it doesn't matter. There's plenty of great stuff in there. A lot of interviews with Sally, with her children, who are adults now, obviously, with people who are friends of the late Ray McNeil. Just a ton of footage of them. They did get a lot of video footage of themselves in those years, a few years prior to his death. And yeah, it's crazy. I'm not a legal expert. Don't claim to be, but her defense was she was a battered woman. She was abused. She supported this man, Ray. They were both in the Marines together, and then he quit to focus on bodybuilding. She supported him completely. He made no money, Ray McNeil. So she was the one who was going out wrestling men for $300 an hour. She was going to these like strong woman contests. She was a very strong little thing, 5'2", but she was strong. She was doing anything she could to bring money into the household to support his bodybuilding, and she did. She fully supported him, and he was, according to her, constantly choking her, beating her in front of the kids and everything. So it all came down to Valentine's Day, 1995, when he was out with some other woman. She wanted to celebrate Valentine's Day with her husband, him. He came home late. They had an argument. And this is where it gets dicey legally, I'm sure. You guys who know the law better than I do. She went and got a shotgun and shot him. So she wasn't in any... He had just choked her, supposedly. It wasn't self-defense in the classic sense. He wasn't going to kill her that moment. I don't think she was actually in danger of losing her life that moment. But she'd been beaten for years with this guy, and she just had it. She'd had it. I think if this trial had happened today, 2022, I don't think she would have gotten as harsh a sentence. She got 19 years to life. She ended up serving 25 years in prison, got out in May 2020, right at the first few months of the pandemic, and she's back home in her native Pennsylvania now. She remarried. Seems like she was doing very well, at a good place in life. She's 62 years old now. Her kids are all grown. And it's a really cool story. Even if you knew nothing, obviously it's #4 in the country for a reason on Netflix in shows when most people could care less about bodybuilders. There was that sensational element that they were both bodybuilders, and that was actually part of the defense the prosecutor saying, not the defense, she was the defendant. Prosecutor saying she couldn't be a battered woman. She was known to have a violent temper, and she was a bodybuilder. She was big and strong, but she was 5'2", like 140 pounds. Ray, I guess he was about 5'9". He used to compete around 230, and he'd go like 260 in the off season. He was a much bigger and stronger human being than she was. So you can be a battered woman, even if you're big and strong, if the man who's abusing you is much bigger and stronger than you. You know, a regular guy, I think, would have stood no chance against Sally. I think she would have, you know, regular schmuck, like 5'9", 180-pound, skinny, fat American dude. Had he tried to physically abuse her as a husband, I think she would have defended herself, but not in this case. And, you know, she could have left. She could have left. We're not going to go into all that, but I'm just curious if you guys have seen it. What did you guys think? I thought it was very, very well done. It brought back a lot of memories for me from that era. And from seeing them, I saw Ray compete a few times. He actually was just a few days out from the 95 Ironman Pro when she shot him and killed him. She shot him once in the chest, reloaded, and shot him in the face. So, let's see. Todd Johnson, Greg Eulis, it's a very sad story. It is. She had a tough life. She was abused her entire life, this poor woman. Mom gave her up. She just had a horrible, horrible life, this poor girl. And that's all she knew was abuse and violence. So, yeah, it's sad. I mean, I feel for her. Todd Johnson just saw this on Netflix. A very good series, yeah. And like I said, it's only 3 episodes. It's not one of these things like you really got to commit to it. And, oh, man, I don't have time to watch 10, 12 episodes. 3 episodes, get it all done. You can get that done pretty quick, guys. Raymond Jones, she needed a better lawyer. Yes, I want to say that. They didn't really address the accusation of her shooting Ray in the face while he was on the ground. Her lawyer was a public defender. She had no money. You know, any money she made all of it went to Ray for his food, his drugs, everything. He didn't work. So she had no money to defend herself. She couldn't afford a really good lawyer. She got a public defender. This guy was horrible. I don't remember the name. The prosecutor was like he was a prosecutor in Oceanside, San Diego area. He was like known to be fierce, and everybody was afraid of this guy. He was like a shark in the courtroom, and he had an easy time putting her away. I'm surprised he didn't try to get her like life in prison. Well, she got 19 years to life, so he almost succeeded in that. She was convicted of second-degree murder. She was found innocent of first degree because she didn't premeditate it. She didn't sit there and plan the murder out, but she was convicted of second-degree murder. But her lawyer, you could tell he was just too mild-mannered, not assertive enough. You could tell because even today when he was talking, this is 27 years later, well, the gentleman who was the prosecutor, he's an alpha male. This guy was like, you could tell. He'd be a pain in the ass in court, this guy, and he was. And he put her away pretty easily. Yeah, Kevin Ghosh, Ron, what do you think of the Rising Phoenix show? Did you see it? Dude, we're talking about something, no, I didn't see it, but congratulations to Ms. Olympia, Andrea Shaw, on winning that. She picked up $50,000 cash and a custom, what was it, a Jeep, I think? I didn't really get a good look at it. She got a very nice car, too. So it was probably like $100,000 or more worth in cash and prizes. Cher, Rhonda, Braithwaite, Greenaway. We can say she should have left, but we were not in her shoes mentally. Yeah, you know, I mean, that's what the prosecutor would say. Well, if she was in danger, she feared for her life, why didn't she just leave? But there's a whole different mindset to a battered woman where, you know, she still loved him. Despite it all, she loved Ray to the ends of the earth. Didn't matter if she had to support this guy and he put her down all the time because, you know, as she was saying, and I believe it, obviously we're not hearing Ray's side. He's been dead all these years, but, you know, she said he was the better bodybuilder. He was the one with the better genetics. Everything was for Ray. He was the most important person in the household. He got the best food. If they bought like 10 steaks, he would get 6 or 7 of them, and the rest was for her and the kids. You know, everything was for Ray. His food, his drugs, his gym. Ray was the star of the family, and, you know, he was the pro bodybuilder. He should have been making money. I don't know if he had any contracts. Didn't seem like he did. Didn't seem like he was making any money at bodybuilding. He'd only been a pro a couple years. He turned pro in 91. Did a few pro shows. Great physique, actually. The only thing is his arms, his biceps. It's crazy because this guy had a back. Every time they show him from the back, his traps are almost touching his ears, like Johnny Jackson traps. Crazy back, great shoulders, pretty good legs. Legs could have been better. But his biceps were so short, they inserted like halfway up. they were really short, and it really took away from his physique. It's crazy because he had such awesome genetics in almost every other muscle group. Triceps weren't bad, but the biceps were they were awful. It looked like he had torn them both. He hadn't. They were just short. That's where they inserted. Greg Ulisse, it brought a lot of memories. Like he's trying to say, I'm surprised they didn't go for Kelly Ryan, Craig Titus, Melissa James story. Someone should do that documentary. I'll watch that. Shit. I'll watch that all day. And I have a more personal... I didn't really know Ray and Sally. I knew Craig and Kelly. I knew Craig from one of his first NPC shows that he won when he was 202 pounds. I knew Kelly from when she won Fitness America pageant. Looked like a totally different person. She was this little apple pie-faced debutante from South Carolina. I don't know. But I mean, and I knew them all the way up until I had seen them a couple months before they died, or before they killed that girl. I saw them at their last party they ever threw in Vegas. And then they were apprehended about a mile that way, Stoughton, Massachusetts, at a nail salon. She was getting a pedicure. Jump tube. What if he decides she couldn't leave? Well, if he was preventing her from leaving, that would be that's kidnapping. When someone's trying to leave and you don't let them leave, I believe that charge you can be prosecuted with kidnapping because people are supposed to be free to leave. Raymond Jones, apparently they were both planning on leaving each other, but never did. Yeah. He was in love with another woman. He had many affairs. He was very, a ladies' man, very popular with the ladies. I remember he was trying to be they didn't really talk about it. He was trying to be a stand-up comedian. I'm surprised they didn't have any footage of that. Apparently he was a pretty funny guy, Ray. I didn't know them. I'd seen them around the shows, but I never talked to them or anything. Yeah, but I don't think she was planning on leaving. He was planning on leaving her. I don't think Sally ever had any intentions of leaving Ray, no matter what. That was her ride or die. She was just madly in love with him no matter what. Todd Johnson, this story really hit home to me. I was really young when this happened, but I live in San Diego, and Oceanside is about 30 minutes away. Good, she's out living her life. Yeah, I'm happy that she's out of jail and she's remarried. She seems very happy and at peace. I actually reached out to her on Facebook. I don't expect to hear back for an interview. And, she might need a big chunk of money for an interview, which I don't think we can really swing her way. We'll see what happens, but I mean, it never hurts to ask. I'd love to talk to her. And it wouldn't be about the case. I mean, I'm not going to go into put her on the witness stand again. I'm just fascinated by the fact that they made this documentary, and she's an international celebrity now, whether she likes it or not. Yeah. But yeah, Oceanside, because they were both Marines. They were both stationed at Camp Pendleton, which is not far from Oceanside. It's in the San Diego area. And yeah, that's where they met, in the Marines. And she had been married previously to another U.S. Marine. So she was a tough girl, Sally. She was a tough girl, a scrapper. Definitely, when you'll see in the documentary, if you haven't watched it already, there were instances where she confronted, or she would warn other women to stay away from my man if they were pursuing him or he was pursuing them. And yeah, she would kick a woman's ass, no problem. She was not afraid to fight. But, that doesn't mean she deserved to be abused. And that doesn't mean she couldn't, that she could defend herself against someone who was that much bigger and stronger. A 260-pound, low-fat male bodybuilder is much, much more physically imposing than a 140-pound female bodybuilder. That's another 120 pounds. That's like another regular woman added onto him. That's how big he was. Nice movie, says Momin Abdel Magid. Yeah, I think they could have made this into a 90-minute to 2-hour just documentary movie. I think it could have been done in that format. It didn't bother me. There were no points where it was like really slow, and I was like, man, they're just padding this to get 3 episodes out of it. Whenever they have a limited series, that's like 3 or 4 or 5 episodes at most, which I've seen a few of those on Netflix. They pack a lot into that. They don't try to drag it out into 9, 10, 12 episodes. So like I said, it's a quick watch. You can get through it quickly. And especially if you were around in that era, just seeing the clothes again, the hairstyles, just a lot of the stuff's going to bring back wow, I remember that, or I remember that, and especially for those of you who lived in Southern California in that era, if you were from San Diego or Oceanside, like that gentleman said he was, yeah, it's really going to hit home for you, because that was a huge story. Greg Ulisse, Ray McNeil beat Paul Dillette. That was crazy. Yeah. It's funny, I remember that North American. It was 1991. It happened in Redondo Beach, California. Aviation Park Auditorium is what we called the place back then. I don't even know if it's there anymore. It's where they used to have the Pro Ironman every year. And they did have other shows there. North American was there. I don't think the USA was at Santa Monica Civic. But anyway, 1991, Paul Dillette came down from, he was Canadian, but I think he'd been living in Florida for a little while. Anyway, I remember I worked for Lose Wick, American Sports Network. We did the American Muscle TV show, and we used to get videotapes all the time of like new talent. Gym owners would send it, contest promoters, all kinds of characters who were talent scouts for Lou would send us videotapes, and we got one of Paul Dillette, probably early. It had to be early 91. I didn't start working there until January 91. He was in like a sleeveless shirt. It wasn't a tank top, I don't think. Towel around, sweating like a pig. And he was like doing curls. And he had these massive, like 23, 24. I don't know what they were. He was a big dude, Paul. Paul was like 6'1". Ultimately, he was competing around 270, 280. At this time when he was an amateur, I think he was on stage around 6'1" and 240. Anyway, he went into that North American so confident to the point of being arrogant that he just assumed nobody was beating him. That was his show. He was just going to walk right in, heavyweight, because there was no super heavyweights back then. It was anything over 198 was just a heavyweight. Super heavyweight class wouldn't be around until I think 97 or 98. So Paul was the heavy favorite. At that point he had been at Gold's Venice training for a while. Everybody had seen him. Everyone was like, this guy's a freak. So he showed up, and he didn't, Ray McNeil just had a much more complete physique, and he was in much better condition. He wasn't anywhere near the size of Paul Dillette. Paul was massive, and I remember Paul was just livid when he lost. Livid. He couldn't believe it. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think he smashed his trophy backstage. He was very upset because he did not expect to lose. Nobody expected him to lose. He was a freak. And this was he got freakier after that. He turned pro the next year at the North American, 92. But in 91, he had to walk away with second place to Ray McNeil, a guy who he probably had, I don't know. I was going to say 30 pounds of muscle, but Ray was probably turned pro. I'm going to guess. He was probably like 225. He wasn't massive. He had really nice shape, small waist, very round muscles. Like I said, the only real lagging body part on him was biceps. Everything else looked pretty damn good. He had a hell of a back on him. His back shots were crazy. I think his legs could have been bigger. Anything else, guys? Anything else? I think that's it, guys. Yeah, we can wrap it up. So I just wanted to recommend this movie to you, or this series. It's only 3 episodes. It's on Netflix. If you have Netflix, like a lot of people do these days. 3 episodes. You'll get through it fast. It's a huge story from our industry. I know it happened. 1995 was a long time ago. Some of you watching this weren't even born yet, but it was still an important part of bodybuilding history. It was, the first really big murder that I remember. A few months before that, a guy named Gordon Kimbrough, a bodybuilder, he was an amateur, had killed his girlfriend, Christy Ramsey. Was that her name? Christy? I think he had choked her to death. But that was a big story. But this was a bigger story because they were husband and wife. She shot him to death on Valentine's Day. Then she called the police. They have all the 911. She didn't try to run away. She didn't try to deny it. She said, I shot my husband because he just beat me. And they came and got her, and that was the end of her. So that's it, guys. Check that out. Killer Sally on Netflix. Quick watch. 3 episodes, and I highly recommend it. Even if you're not interested in bodybuilding, but assuming you are because you're watching the Muscular Development YouTube channel. So check it out. Killer Sally. Great watch. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.